Sarah, thank you so much for the call.
She loves her speeding cameras. I guess she loves the fact that technology is catching more people just so in hopes that less people will speed. But in reality, it's not working.
I believe, like in many things, Sarah's heart is in the right place.
Sure.
She doesn't want people to be injured, no matter whose rights she has to trample to make sure that happens. We're going to the phones with David. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, good evening. I'm a new listener to the show, and one of your regular callers, Matthew, I believe his name is, has been begging me to call in, and I wasn't going to call in. Matthew, does that ring a bell?
Not with me, but maybe a different night. That's okay.
All right. And you guys, interesting show. The topic I want to talk about before I tell you, the reason I'm calling in is because you guys are talking about Bitcoin and crypto. I'm a big fan, and I have a 3 Bitcoin challenge. And my challenge is, if you can prove to me that the Earth is a globe, I pay you 3 Bitcoins.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, that's a huge challenge.
It also sounds very difficult because I don't know how I can prove something to someone who may already have a preconceived notion.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a preconceived notion. It's actually, we've all been taught before we had the ability to think or reason that the Earth is a globe. So our entire foundation of our world is based on it. So we all have been taught to ridicule it, to not look at it, to refuse to actually look into it. But the thing is, when you do, and you can get by all the censorship because it's highly censored, then there's no denying it. My website is flatearthdave.com, and I have tons of free videos on there. And my challenge is, one proof of the globe after watching what I call the crash course. I have a list of videos there that Google's hiding from you. Watch 3 of the videos. There's probably 50 videos there. Watch 3, and if you can come up with one proof the Earth is a globe, you win 3 Bitcoins. But the thing is, it is difficult because the Earth is not a globe.
Okay, so
that's your opinion.
Can I tell you a little bit about my background?
Sure.
I worked in communications for an awfully long time, in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yep.
And I'm used to dealing with things that are line of sight.
Yep, like microwave transmissions.
Like microwave transmissions. That was my first job, strategic microwave systems repair.
Yeah, which are line of sight, and we have microwave transmissions that are going over 800 miles, which would be 83 miles of curvature in the way, but there's line of sight.
So we couldn't get them past about 50, 60, 70 miles, putting them on very high mountaintops.
Well, 70 miles, you know what the curvature at 70 miles is?
Tell me.
Actually,
please tell me what the curvature of the Earth is at 70 miles. Please tell me.
Yeah. If I can pull up my calculator, I'll do it. Okay, here we go. So 70 miles, the curvature at 70 miles is, 1 second, 70 equals, divided by 12, equals 3,266 feet.
There you go.
Yeah. So
when we could only set up links on very high mountaintops to go from one area to another, wouldn't that be indicative of curvature?
Well, no, it's indicative of the transmission not being able to make it for whatever reasons. Could be topographical, could be atmospheric. I couldn't tell you, but there's like in the Navy, they have the rail gun, which can shoot a projectile over 100 miles away that can target another ship. And that ship would be beyond a mile of curvature. There should be a mile-high hump of water in between them. Same thing with submarines on the bottom of the ocean. They could see other submarines.
They never gave me a rail gun. I asked them to. They wouldn't. They would not let me fire the rail gun.
Probably a good thing.
Probably
a good thing.
But I'm just talking about microwave mountaintop to mountaintop. Why did I have a limit? We had full control over power.
But you believe the world is not a globe.
Well, the thing is, the globe, when you actually look at it, breaks all laws of physics. High pressure air, which we breathe, adjacent to a void, a vacuum of no pressure, space, is scientifically impossible.
So are there other globes in the universe? Are other things round?
Yeah, so there are things, people say, well, what about a drop of water? Well, large bodies of water at rest lie flat. The Earth is 70% water, and that water is measurably flat. There is no curvature. If the globe was the size they tell us, there would be 6 feet of curvature at just 3 miles, 66 feet at 10 miles. And we can see the surface of the water beyond that. So these are impossibilibilities.
Have you ever heard of EME communications?
Well, tell me what that is.
Well, I'm like a amateur radio guy too, a ham operator, if you will. So one of the things that I've done and experimented with, it's like a poor man's satellite. It's where I connect with another user thousands of miles away by bouncing a signal off of the moon back to Earth.
The moon?
Yes.
You're bouncing it off of the firmament. On the flat Earth, there's a dome ceiling above us.
Really?
Which is, yeah. Sounds crazy, right?
It does, dude. It sounds like you're totally insane.
No,
I've
had these calls
and also, I tell people, don't believe a word I say. You need to verify everything.
Why should we believe that there's a sky made of glass above us?
Have you heard of Project Fishbowl or Project Dominic that they performed? I believe it was in the 40s, 50s, where they were launching. They said nuclear bombs, but that they were launching bombs into the sky, and they were hitting something at about 72 miles up.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Look it up. And you could see the explosions hitting a surface of something up there.
JFK's speech about going to space and everything was almost entirely in nautical terms as well.
It was, because space is water. Page 1 of the Bible, if you're a Bible follower, God separated the waters from the waters and created the firmament.
Well, I don't think the Bible's actually correct about the cosmos. So.
The thing is, there's over 200 verses in the Bible, and by the way, I don't use the Bible as to prove the flat Earth. Science proves flat Earth. Like we went out on a frozen lake, which was frozen and which is level, and we put lights about a foot off the ice, 8, 7, 6, and 5 miles away, and then we had a camera 6 inches off the ice, and all of those lights lined up on the horizon, where the 8-mile light should have been below 22 feet below the horizon, the other one 15, 7, and I forget the number, but they all lined up like they were right there on the same level, which is proof.
Yeah, I've seen these experiments, and to me that's not really proof, because you could, as you said before, water rest sits flat, right? So,
well, here's my challenge, and again, if you believe the Earth is flat because of what I'm saying, then that's belief. Belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is the lazy man's knowing. It's super easy to believe. It doesn't take any effort. Go to my website, flatearthdave.com. Scroll down to see a big picture of me. It says Crash Course. Click that. Turn off Netflix for a couple days, or just one day, and watch the first 3 videos. I guarantee you will end up knowing the Earth is not a globe if you watch the first 3 videos. Or you could just say, this guy's crazy, I'm not going to look, and then you can just keep living your life on the ball.
So my question for you is, why does it matter whether the Earth is flat or not?
That's a great question, and the answer is it's all about controlling the human population. Because if the Earth is flat, there's several things you understand. That one, you're at the center of creation. You're not a random speck in an expanding universe. They tell us our universe is expanding into what? More space, right? And that there is no shortage of fuel. Well, fuel is a whole other issue. There's no overpopulation. There's more land. There's more resources. And they're hiding free energy. They're hiding all of this stuff to keep you under control, because they're not allowed to take your free will from you. But if you willingly give it to them, because you live in a world of lack. Who's the they
that you're talking about?
They, Riley.
Who's these they people that you're talking about?
So the they that we know are like the Bilderberg Group, the Rothschilds.
I'm talking about the ones 300 years ago.
Yeah, well, we don't know who their controllers are. They're just the puppets of the real controllers who probably live beyond the shoreline of Antarctica.
Beyond the shoreline. I was
so think about this. Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of the ball. Antarctica is the shoreline that surrounds the world oceans, right? Because the oceans, like a lake, need a shoreline to contain them. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's over double the height of any other continent.
Yeah,
it
Admiral
is the shoreline that contains our water.
Admiral Byrd's mission down there was called Operation
Project High Jump. Correct. He said he saw more land beyond the South Pole, which would put him between Australia and Africa, land bigger than the United States that no human has ever seen. Don't you think somebody from over there would have seen it if there was more land?
So NASA must figure into this somehow, obviously.
NASA's fake, Chris, don't you know?
Well, no.
Thank you. Not a space agency.
Right.
And never a straight answer.
So SpaceX, now that private industry is getting involved in this.
Well, private industry is completely controlled by NASA. They did it so you can't do freedom of request from SpaceX. But on my website, I also have an app called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app that bypasses YouTube algorithms of censorship. And there's an entire NASA and SpaceX and ISS section in there that'll show you how fake these rockets are. There's also a section called Rockets Are Balloons. Guess who controls all of the helium in the world? NASA.
There you go. Hey, you never adequately explained, other than somehow Earth, Moon, Earth communications. It's
bouncing off glass ceiling.
It's bouncing off the glass ceiling.
Well, that's what they're doing. It is bouncing off the glass ceiling, which makes more sense than bouncing off the ionosphere. That's silly.
How about measurable distances like 200,000 miles or 250,000 miles based on the lag between Earth, Moon, Earth communications?
Well, they say that they measured the distance to the moon by shooting a laser at a reflector up there. But how did they measure the distance to the moon before they put a reflector up there? And basically, they shoot like 600 sextillion photons, and then they get one back, and the computer goes bing, and then it gives you a number.
No. If I speak to someone using Earth, Moon, Earth, there is a noticeable delay, a measurable delay that I can calculate what the actual distance is.
NASA just put that delay there to trick you, Chris.
Damn it!
If you watch when they talk about on the ISS, they say there's a delay. They forget about the delay half the time. You can see when these kids are asking them, how do you eat? How do you go to the bathroom? How do you brush your teeth? Same questions all the time. They'll laugh while they're waiting for the delay to happen. You'll see them smile when the question's asked. There's so many. We catch them with wires, green screens. I mean, why would you have to use wires? When we catch them, they're all, on film, caught. Wires, green screens, augmented reality, and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, which would make absolutely no sense if it was real. Again, this is a lie that's so big that it's hard for people to believe. The lie's too big. Lie bigger, go home.
So I appreciate your call, just because I haven't had a flat earther call in so long that I've had to
it's take. It's been forever.
This was a really good one too. You're really well informed on the subject, and I appreciate it.
Well, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've done over 1,200 interviews since 2021. I was on Roseanne Barr. I was on Stu Peters. I was on InfoWars. I'm on Coast to Coast AM. I've been on WNBC New York.
Did you do a Crow 777 episode?
And
I've done 5 on Crow 777. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, Thank you for the call. 603-283-6160. Do you have some compelling flat earth information that we should know about? Give us a call. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live. We're going to go to the phones where we've got an unscreened caller from New York. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
It's Alex from Brooklyn. How you doing?
Hi, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
I heard somebody talking about flat Earth, and I was like, I got to call in on this.
See, you get one, you get more. Okay, what's up?
I know. Nothing. I was just, I've been flat for about 10 years now, so I've been kind of in the game too. And every time I pick up on something, out there in the air, I'm like, let's go. Let's call in and talk about it.
So you were actually listening to Free Talk Live. This is not a coordinated effort between flat earthers?
No, it's always a coordinated effort between flat earthers. Whenever one flat earther hears something, they call somebody else and like, check this out. These guys are talking about it. But we all talk to each other on a very regular basis, and we we have a vast text networks, and like, they're talking about flat Earth over here. Go over here and say something. But
there we go.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's a tight knit community that's growing super fast, and anytime we get a chance to talk a little bit on the air, it's good for us. Just to air out grievances and talk about the cosmology that we believe in.
Do you have like people all around the world that listen to what you talk about?
I mean, I have a small stream that happens weekly, but like there's people all over the world, all over the realm, as it were.
The globe.
And, not the globe. We're not the globe.
Okay.
We call it the realm. It's a place where we live or whatever. But
so we've taken one flat Earth call. Can you give me something that David Weiss, I think that was his name, didn't cover?
I mean, that guy covers just about everything in quick speed. And again. The easiest thing really on all of this stuff is everybody can go out and do that themselves. You can go out and take a Zoom camera. You can go to the beach, and the Zoom technology basically eradicated the heliocentric model. It just eradicated it. And I don't think they knew that what they were doing when they created that camera, but the P900 and the P1000, things that you're not supposed to be able to see according to globe math, it just eradicates the globe math, and you can see too far. And we're talking distances that are impossible in heliocentric math. And the great thing about it is anyone out there can go do it themselves. This isn't a cult. We're not preaching anything. You can get a zoom lens, get a telescope even for that matter, get the globe math. It's easily found on the internet. Go out and test it yourself. And that's what we tell everybody. It's like that. There's nothing else I can do for you. I'm not here to help you on anything else other than to understand where you live.
Can you help me understand? One thing that I've observed is ships leaving port, gradually being unable to see only the top decks and then disappearing. How do you address something like that? That's a pretty basic one. I assume you have
that's an effect. That's an effect of how perception works. If anyone's ever taken an art class, they give you that diminishing sort of tunnel. So that's how you draw it in your perspective when you're drawing a house, say, or you're drawing something in nature. Your eyes work the same way. And we've done plenty of tests, on a flat table, when you've got the camera right there where your eyes is, you can see that everything disappears from the bottom up. But it's not because it's going over a physical Earth curve. It's disappearing into your perspective. Same with the sun. Now the sun, there's a double thing that happens with the sun sometimes, which is kind of confusing to a lot of people. The sun will appear as though it's setting. It's just going away. But you also have magnification with water in the atmosphere that will actually increase its size a little bit. So it gives you a little bit of an optical phenomenon that it kind of convinces you, well, we must be spinning. But in actuality, we've zoomed in on so many suns that look like they were going down. You zoom in on them, and then they raise back up above the horizon. And it's just because our eyes can't see that far, and we have, basically at perspective, it blends all the way down to no resolution, and then it's just too far. Our eyes aren't built to see that far. It's that simple.
When you say the sun is going away, what do you mean by that?
It's going away in an arc. It's on a circuit.
Okay.
That goes around essentially a working model, which is not the Mercator. I'm brain farting on the other one, but it's a top-down vision of the map. You can see, if you look at the UN flag, that's the map. If you look at some of these other organizations, what'd you say? Gleason map. That's right. I'm going to have a flat earther in here too. But these are the best working model maps that we have that work really well with flight paths. They work really well with, if we could get enough altitude to look back down at it, we think it would look something like that. Okay. And surrounded, by a shore. What's outside of that, we don't know.
I didn't really get a satisfactory answer from David, but Earth-Moon, Earth communications using ham radios and very low watts. Explain to me the time delay of
they screwed that up. NASA screwed that up when they got everything wrong when they were doing their whatever that thing was that they did in 69.
No, I'm not talking about mirrors, and I'm not talking about lasers. I'm talking about me using my equipment to bounce signals off of the Earth, off of the moon, to talk to someone a distance away from me that I cannot hit line of sight.
Here's what I would say on that one. Who's to say you're hitting the moon? I mean, I would say it would back it up. And I know this speaking from a biblical standpoint, the Bible says there's a firmament. So who's to say you're not just hitting the dome? You know,
who's to say the Bible is right?
Okay, why is the lag
I don't know.
calculable based on something of a 200 to 300,000 mile distance? Why is there that much measurable lag when we do data? Why is that happening?
I would say that just from my humble standpoint that like there's environmental factors that lead up to and or the distance it is to the dome. All I know is that you can't fire radio or radar if the Earth gets in the way of radar. It doesn't work, and they're getting radar bounces at 100 miles for line of sight targeting in the ocean, and that's way over the globe mass. So whatever happens when you fire something up in the sky and it bounces off that, I'm not knowledgeable enough in that, and I'll be humble. And when I say that, but what I'm saying is like there's radar that declares line of sight communication. And I think they have something back from like World War II times. They got something like 1,200 miles. That should be impossible. Current curvature math on the globular model. And but what happens when you shoot it up into the sky? Who knows? Maybe the whatever it is, that barrier up there is a little bit higher. Maybe it absorbs some of the radio before it goes down to its target. I'd like to know more about that because that's one I haven't heard. And if you can expand on that, and like maybe I call in another time and talk about it. But like we've been at 10 years of this stuff, man. 10 years of going through all of these things, and it's lining up flat. And there's not too many of them that fit in the globe anymore. So like I'm always interested in new things I haven't heard. So like if I can get some math on that and I can get a model on that.
I'd look into Earth, Moon, Earth communications, both ham radio operators, because thousands of ham operators have done this exact thing, and they communicate vast distances that they can't do with their regular radios.
I would suspect that they might be actually getting communication over a flat plane, even though they're aiming it upwards, just because like that's just. In my experience with him, my dad worked in the oil fields and radio, and like he would talk about guys talking to people in Texas from Kansas, and I was like, "How's that work? I mean, what are they doing?"
He's like, skip. You do.
Yeah, and they can also operate on towers, but like literally, you have to have line of sight on this stuff, and you can bounce it off clouds. Sure, they used to call it frequency modulation. The guys, can I cuss on this channel?
No.
Can I? Okay, I won't. They used to call it effing magic, which is frequency modulation, which was like they couldn't figure out why there was a signal going up, into the clouds and coming back down, and they just called it effing magic because they didn't understand what it was.
Yeah,
I remember this. My dad
frequency modulation. Yeah. Hey, man. Thank you so much for the call. I
You're not convinced, are you, Chris?
No, I mean...
I'm not either.
Frequency modulation is a way of communicating. You have frequency modulation and amplitude modulation. Yep. It's changing the way that the radio waves are going to propagate. And I just didn't hear a lot of expert talk from either guy. So from me and my radio background, I'm just not convinced. Stu, I hate to... No, I'm going to respect Stu's choice to at least hope for a flat Earth.
Yeah, because if it's flat and somebody can actually prove it, then a lot of people are going to have to admit that they've been fooled real badly and better start thinking for themselves.
Yeah, and you don't need a flat Earth. And
people have definitely been fooled badly.
Right. People need to wake up to the things that don't require belief in a flat Earth to realize that government lies to you all the time.
And why would it matter if the Earth's flat or not? I don't really care.
In either case,
it doesn't make a difference in my life.
A bigger government is not the solution.
When people finally wake up to the truth that we do not live on a spinning ball, but rather a non-rotating level plane, and what is above, below and beyond, we still don't know, the first question they ask is, why the lie? Why the lie? So many people have said they believe the lie is because they don't want you to know who you really are, which we know that we are very powerful people. Our mind is very, very powerful. They want to keep resources from you. They want you to believe that unless we go and find other planets, we're going to run out of these resources. They want you to take you away from God. And so on and so forth. However, for me, I've come to the conclusion the biggest lie is because they want you to believe you live in a fictional world. Therefore, your fictional character, which is known as your straw man, will work in that world. So when we look at the word lawful and legal, there's a maxim of law that says he who creates it owns it. They've created a globe. You see, in the natural world, God's world, nature, I say God, whoever that is for you, it could be natural creation, sorts, whoever, but I'm just using God as a reference. You can't patent what is organic. They cannot take away and manipulate what is organic. They can create from it, but they cannot change it. So they cannot change the non-rotating level plane. But they need you to believe in them and not God. They need you to believe in fiction and not reality. So therefore they've created a globe. And on this globe, they control your mind. And on this globe, they register you. You see, they've created corporations. They've created birth certificates. They've registered your birth certificate to these corporations. A corporation is a dead entity. It's fake. It doesn't exist, just like the globe. They've made you believe you are living on a spinning ball on this world that doesn't exist. And they call it a globe. And on the globe, we have globalism. We have global warming. We have globalists. All of it doesn't exist. Global warming doesn't exist. It's all fake. You see, in this fake world, on this globe, we have digital currency. Doesn't exist. They create money from thin air. We have your straw man, which is there to become part of the commerce system, contract system, because you see, you as a person can't do business without your straw man. So they need to create a separate world, a legal world, where you can be your straw man. And in that world, they make you believe that you have to pay taxes. You have to give away your hard-earned money. In that world, they have taken away what God has naturally given you, which is dominion over the earth. They've taken away the land, air, and water from you. And because you do not know where you live, you have given it to them. You have given up your right of dominion over what God naturally gave you. It's even in the Bible. And you have decided to live in a fictional world called the globe. And there, they own your mind. You see, in this fictional world, they register. Everything is registered, and you've registered your rights away. The rights that you were given from birth. You've registered your children away. You've registered your car away. They've taken away what is yours. And you are not ready to claim it back, because if you are not ready to realize that you have your own senses, your own eyes, your own feelings, which tell you we are not spinning. This is all a lie. Pull back the curtain and realize you live here and you own an equal share of the earth, and they've taken it away from you. In this fictional world, they create currency. They create birth certificates. They create contracts. They create your straw man. They create slavery. They've created slavery because you don't know who you are, because you don't even know where you live. Because he who creates it owns it. And if you truly believe you live on a spinning ball, then you are owned. You are owned because you've not centered yourself to your very own existence, that you are not spinning. Don't forget, in their world, you will own nothing and be happy. They're going to take everything away from you because they think they own you. Do you know why? Because they've made you sign everything over to them with their fake money. Mortgages, fraudulent. Globalism, fraudulent. Global warming, fraudulent. Doesn't exist. None of it exists. When are you going to realize none of this exists? It's all man-made. What is natural is nature. That cannot be touched. We are so close to collectively waking up. And when people say, well, doesn't matter if the earth is flat or round, actually it's part of your spiritual awakening. Now here is something we should be concentrating on. As per God's law, until someone can bring the Creator into a court of law to provide first-hand testimony, which is cross-examinable, that one person has more authority than another, then logic and reason can only conclude we are all entitled to an equal benefit of the fruits of creation, and we are all equal under the law, and no one is above the law. When I say law, I mean small l, not man-made law. Each of us is gifted with our mind, with our own bodies and our conscience, to allow us to determine what is right from wrong. And hence, we can explore this reality as long as we do not cause harm, injury and loss. When you live in their fiction, in their legal world, you lose this. You lose this privilege to use your own mind and determine your own outcome. In the legal fiction, you are a slave. You are bound by legislation, acts and statutes. And you are told you're not allowed to drive on the roads unless you have register your car to a corporation and pay fines that you don't need for profit. Everything is for profit. In the legal world, even your birth certificate has created a for-profit person, which is you. They are making money on you in a world that does not exist, because nature is natural and no one can own it. But in the legal world, the fictional globe, they own you. That's why the globe is so important, because it doesn't exist. You don't exist in their world unless you want to, unless you choose to. When you are ready to wake up and come back to reality, when your mother or father used to say to you, you live in a fantasy world, come back to reality. Well, guess what? They created that fantasy world for you, and you are living in that world right now. And it is time for you to come back to reality and realize that you are not in their legal fiction. You are not a straw man. You are not a person. You are a living, breathing man or woman with the right to self-determination, and you need to grow up. You need to become an adult and start taking responsibility for your decisions. Because if you don't, you will own nothing and apparently be happy. This period of time is about ascending and disclosure. We are mentally and spiritually ascended, and we need to disclose the lies and corruption to then manifest a new future, a fair and just one, where people begin to build communities rather than societies. But to do that, the first rule of manifestation is to know thyself, know who you truly are, where you truly belong, and know where you truly are going. Now remember, your silence means you are consenting. If you say nothing, that means you are happy to live like this. I'm not. I am not happy to live like this. I want a fair world with no wars, with equal shares of what is originally ours, God-given. This is why I speak up, and this is why it's so important to drop the globe, drop the legal fiction. You are not your birth certificate. You are not the straw man. You are not a court. You are a living, breathing man and woman. Protect yourself. Wake up. Know where you are and who you are.